one thing is to note here that the changes are not getting auto saved. So every time when you make some changes, just ensure to save those changes and then execute your test. Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Tech Insight with Arun. Please subscribe to my channel for more interesting informational videos. In previous session, we discussed how can we create a new model and how can we generate a lineage graph of that model, and how can we execute that model using the DBT run commands. Now, today we will discuss about creating a test on your model. So let's say we have this customer model where we are taking the data from the customer table and we are applying a transformation on top of that. So there are two ways of doing setting up the test on this customer model. So one at the schema level, and one you can create your custom test as well. So let's first quickly see how can we apply the test at the schema level. So let's go to our schema.yaml file. In this file we can specify the model and the details about that model test. So here like we have a customer model, so we are giving name as a customer, defining the model name. Here we can give a short description about your model and then define all the columns which will be generated by this model. So the first is a id, which is the primary key, and we are defining the two tests on this id. One is a unique and not null. Then we have a full name, and on this column we are defining a not null test, and then we have a sign up date, again on which we are defining the not null test. So now this is very simple and easiest approach to test your model. Since our file we have defined the test, let us quickly save this file and we'll simply execute the test command. So dbt test hyphen select and then your model name. So our model is customer model. Okay, now here we can see on the full name not null check was there, so it have executed this not null test and it is passed. Then similarly for the customer id, we have a not null check. Then on the sign up date, again we have this not null check which is passed, and on our customer id we have the unique constraint as well, which is also passed. So this is a very easiest approach to test your model. Okay, so this is the first approach that we can use the inbuilt test for unique and not null. Now let us quickly see how can we create our customized test as well. So to create the customized test, so we have a test directory here, which is a default directory. So under this test directory, let's create one new file. So let's say we have to test the customer model. So we can give a name, naming like that, customer model test. And again, this is it will be a .sql file because everything in DBT is based on the SQL. So now we can specify a query here which will test your data which is generated by your model. So I have one query created. Let me pull that. Okay, so with this query, like here we need to give our model name. So we have to test our customer model. So we are referencing a customer model and taking the outcome of this model, and then on this outcome we are checking whether the sign up date is greater than your current date. If it is greater, your model will be success, your test will be success. So this is a very simple test file and a very easy approach to define your test. Now let us quickly see how can we execute this test. So to execute this test, we need to write a command dbt then test. Now here we can give hyphen select, and then here we have created this customer model test file under test. So we can specify this test directory name, then dot your model file name, customer model test. So now let's hit on enter, and this test will be executed. So we can see the test is success, and we can see it is a very easy approach to create the model, to test this model. So now let us quickly see a negative scenario as well. Okay, when this test case will fail. So let's say if your query doesn't return the desired outcome or the expected outcome, your test will fail. Let's quickly see one more example. So let us create one new model with some invalid data set, and let us see how failures will be displayed. So let's create one new file under these models. So the file name we can give invalid test, invalid test data.sql. Okay, so in this file we are again taking data from this customer table, and then in the formatting logic we have some custom logic. So it will generate a duplicate id, and it will also have the null values for the sign up date. And we already have defined if this is a null, then it will show the failures. So now since this is a different model that we are creating to define the different transformations, so we need to specify this model configuration into our schema.yml file. So as previously we already have mentioned the customer model, so let us define this invalid test data model as well. So I already have prepared the configuration for an invalid test data model. So let me pull that. Okay, invalid test data. This is our model name, and then this will return your ID. And on this ID, we have two checks: unique, not null. Then we have full name, not null check, and the sign up date as a not null check. And in our invalid test data model, we have a formatting logic to generate the duplicate ID and null values in the sign up date. So now let us quickly execute this model. So to execute this, we can type give a command dbt test hyphen hyphen select and then your model name. In this case, our model is invalid test data. Okay, let us execute this. Okay, so we have not saved our changes, so let me quickly save these changes. So one thing is to note here that the changes are not getting auto saved. So every time when you make some changes, just ensure to save those changes and then execute your test. Now we can see there is a failure, and in this way your test cases could fail if you have generated a wrong set of data or invalid set of data. So we can see here all the tests are failed here, and the error is given here. We can expand this and see the detailing where exactly it is failed. And in indirectly within the transformation or test transformation, so what query it is going to execute on the database to verify this, that query is getting printed here. So same query we can go back and execute on your Snowflake database as well in case we need to debug these or find out the data issues. So likewise, okay, we can see here our lineage graph have changed automatically since we have created one more model uh, in your models directory. So now we have two models, customer model and invalid test data. So the same is reflected in this graph. Your source is common, and on this source you're executing two models here. So in this way, this is a very easiest approach to see all the data flows and to test your data models or the data transformations, and we can automate all your transformations so that the manual efforts will be saved here and the data will be error free. So likewise, we can define multiple tests here for a single model, and based on the scenarios or the business rules that we have to test. So we can list down all those scenarios and create test models accordingly. And if you want to test all your models at a one shot, so you can give a command like dbt and test. So with this, it is going to test all the test models that are created. So in our case, we have two test models. One is a custom defined test model and one which is defined in your schema file. So since this model got failed, so like we have the negative scenarios present in one of the model. So your 5 test cases are passed here and 8 test cases are failed. I hope you like this video. Please do remember to like, share and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for being till here.